Begin afresh every morning. Devotional thoughts for women.
Greetings, my beloveds. The topic for today, February 2nd, 2023, is entitled The Israelites' Fear. The scripture reading is taken from Exodus chapter 14, verse 10. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them. So they were very afraid, and the children of Israel cried out to the Lord. The Israelites had finally left slavery behind. Led by the Lord through Moses and Aaron, more than 2 million people began their journey toward freedom. God's instructions did not lead them along the shortest road. Canaan was to the northeast of Egypt, yet the pillar of cloud directed them toward the southeast. No wonder the Egyptian king thought that the not so bright, lost Israelites would quickly fall into their hands as they wandered through the desert. But God had arranged a situation so that the Egyptians and the neighboring nations would come to respect his name. The Israelites also needed to learn to trust in God. They were put in a situation in which there was no salvation except by the Lord's strong hand. In spite of having seen his divine protection throughout the plagues, their only response in this time of crisis was weeping, complaining, and desperation. These former slaves needed to learn repeatedly and by experience that God was their provider. How much unnecessary anguish we would avoid if only we would trust in God from the beginning, focusing on his faithful promises. The situation looked desperate. Their path was closed off by the sea in front of them, by a steep mountain to the south, by a desert to the west, and by the Egyptian army chasing them from the north. It was impossible to escape. They were unarmed and unprepared for battle, and they did not trust in God. The cry they raised was more of a great moan of anguish rather than a prayer of faith, or probably a few faithful prayed to God while the rest murmured against Moses. In times of crisis, what is your heart's inclination? Do you trust that God will give you the victory though you don't understand how? Or do you look for someone to blame? Your reaction is determined by your relationship with God. What is easier, complaining, weeping, or murmuring when we must face pain, tragedy, and imminent loss, or praying to God for help and protection? Trusting in the power of God is not developed instantaneously. We need to cultivate it long before the crisis comes. I invite you today to close your eyes and calmly repeat over again and again, Lord, I trust in you.